With the college football playoff committee set to make its picks in its inaugural college football playoff selection, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish find themselves wondering where the committee will place it in its inaugural selection after its 25-10 escape of Boston College. Meanwhile, there are several dominoes that continue to fall, and Notre Dame just continues to win. But there are several groups of people that question the validity of Notre Dame's schedule and its relevance to the college football playoff due to its independence and unwillingness to join a conference.
Bruh, bruh.
On this episode, I will share with you a conversation that we have been having over the past few days, and it has drew up a lot of interest. Find out what that interest is and how relevant is Notre Dame's independence to the college football playoff and college football on this edition of Talk Like a Champion. Howdy, Irish Nation from the grand state of Georgia. Hope you guys are doing great. It's a little bit chilly down here in the south, but hey, it's generally that way in November. But I am used to having a little bit of 70s mixed in there. But of course, welcome to Talk Like a Champion. I am your host, as always, Mr. CeeLo. And guys, I must tell you, the past 48 to 72 hours have been absolutely jaw-dropping for me. Outside of what's been going on in South Bend, where my favorite squad, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, reside, your boy Mr. CeeLo has been blown up. And maybe not to the extent of many of you would actually believe is being blown up. But guys, my status has not necessarily gone viral, but from what I've dealt with the last couple of years, you guys have made me feel welcome. And so many of you have chimed in on the conversation, which is ultimately what Talk Like a Champion is going to be about once we get to a steady platform. I want it to be just like we got in the comments, but however, I must go ahead and let you guys know, please, no disrespectful things in the comments, as one of the guys who is been a regular since he found out about my show. He's a close friend of mine. His name is Brad. He is not a Notre Dame fan, but he comments. And if you have a disagreement with him, please do not, say negative things. Please, we want this platform to be very positive, despite the fact you got stubborn individuals that don't want to believe that Notre Dame is still a major brand in the college football climate. But ultimately, it's up to you guys that are new supporters of the show to come over and put in your 2 cents. And guys, this is what this show is going to be about. And I will add my 2 cents as to what most of your comments were. And I am so grateful that many of you have become subs. And unfortunately, YouTube does not do a very good job of identifying you. But if I miss you, please make sure you put your names down in the next show that I do. The next show that I choose to do, please put your name down there so I can give you an Irish Nation shout out. But just absolutely humbled by what has happened over the last, 48 to 72 hours as you guys have come out. And I got to let Brad get the first, shout out. He said, eating popcorn and watching the show. So, Brad, I don't know whether you're talking about the Georgia-Florida game or whether you're talking about my show. But, appreciate you, brother. You've always been there for the last 2-3 years, brother. I appreciate you. Laughing my butt off. I hate Notre Dame, but love you, my brother. And see, that's the exact thing what we're about. You don't have to agree with everything, but you have to just admit what it is. Brad hates Notre Dame, so there's nothing I can say to sway him that we need to stay independent, you guys. So realistically, if you see Brad, just try to debate him and be nice. Some almost joke. It was didn't have the grades to get into ND. Yeah, Chris. I mean, if we knew each other, that would be appropriate. I appreciate the comment, and I think you had a comment over the top that I will read on. I'm going to read them all and respond to them. But listen, let's not do the intelligent thing here. Brad's a really good friend of the show. And, guys, let's try to keep it as clean as possible. And that's what the platform is for. Really good, strong, intellect. Conversations about college football and Notre Dame's relevance to it. So I will start with A. Scott 6251. We will join a conference when you raise your academic standards. And I don't think that was something that I even mentioned on the show, you guys. Notre Dame has one of the most stringent and difficult, academic standards out there. I know because when I was younger, I attempted to get in, and it was almost like they were telling me, dude, why did you even try? The standards to get, and this was 1997. So I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, you're not intelligent. No, I just wasn't in that group. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. And I still love the school nonetheless. But it's still my favorite school of all time. I was born and raised in Notre Dame Fighting Irish, fan. I'm gold and blue through and through. Appreciate that, A. Scott. Jim, if being independent was an advantage, why wouldn't every school become independent? Bottom line is that it's because Notre Dame sells out every game no matter where they play. Strong point. And I made that point on the show, so thank you, Jim, for re-emphasizing that. USC only sells out when they play us. We can recruit the entire country by playing all over. Go Irish, beat Navy. Jim, I'm going to push back on one thing. USC only sells out when they play us. Well, that may be current because listen, I've been a fan long enough. I remember when that USC Trojan Express was coming through and just walloping us from, seems like 01, 02, all the way up to 10 when we finally were able to get over the hump. And it just seemed like every year it was like, God, maybe we should just, skip USC this year. And unfortunately now the shoe is on the other foot. And now USC and Lincoln Riley's trying to cower their way out of it. But unfortunately, this rivalry may go away. And this is ultimately, this whole argument, debate started when I said what I said about USC. And I'm going to get to the individual that brought this up. Really, this show was inspired by this individual that made this statement on one of my previous shows. So I'm very thankful for this individual. And some of you have already started debating this individual, even though they have a dogmatic point of view of way of thinking. They don't really realize just how really revolutionary that Notre Dame's independence, even though it may seem old, it's actually revolutionary because everybody's joining a conference now because of the very thing that Jim basically said. It's not easy to go coast to coast and even go over to the pond in Dublin, Ireland and sell out a game. We pretty much have gone everywhere. Yankee Stadium. We've gone to Jerry's World and sold out games. I mean, listen, we couldn't do this if we didn't have a product. The history expert 82 sounds like my kind of follower. If USC hadn't been getting their butts kicked for the past 10 years, I guarantee them continuing the rivalry would not be an issue.
Want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
I said that as well. Excellent point. I think ultimately when teams start to worry about who they're playing, they have doubts as to whether or not they can beat them. See, Notre Dame has to do that. They can't go out and put Grambling State or, Appalachian State or even Alabama A&M's on the schedule. We can't afford to do that. Because ultimately people, despite the fact that what you want to think, we still have to put relevant competition on the field, because guess what? We have a TV contract we've got to satisfy. And guess what? NBC's not just going to fork over money for an entity that's not making money on Saturday. And of course, you guys are not going to tune in if you're seeing us playing a team that where there's not even any level of competition. If we're going to look at it and say, nah, we got this in the bag. Because as we saw on Saturday, Boston College was a huge underdog. And look how that game turned out, despite the fact that we did not play our best ball. But guess what? All of us know on any given Saturday. Ken said, ND proudly celebrating their independence. Firework emojis. So liberating. I agree. And there's nothing more to say about that, as many of the comments are going to second this comment that Ken put out. And needless to say, when you're an independent program, there are a lot of things, and then there's going to be someone else who brings this home. And like I said, I want you guys to watch the show because I'm going to go through all of these. It's going to be a relatively long show. This is going to be like one of my other shows I do, Gridiron Gab Triple Option, which is my all-access college show. If you guys like college football, I watch it all. So unlike some people, I don't just watch the dogmatic views of the Big Ten and the SEC. I love college football. So if you guys want to go over there and check out my show there, please do so. Brian, 2373. This is probably one of my most, one of the comments that hit me here. Just found your show very interesting. Have love for Indy, but I'm realistic. We'll continue to watch, and as always, go Irish. Irish go. The only thing is, when I hear somebody say I'm realistic, it's almost like you have that passive, I'm not sure what we can do. Look, Byron, let me tell you, Brian, let me tell you something. This team is for real. I don't care what anybody has to say. This football team has yet to play its best game. Now, a lot of people say that Arkansas game was. And then you got some people who say Arkansas was on its last leg. I beg to differ. That crowd was jacked. And here's another thing. While our adversary is going to be notified later on, Ole Miss escaped its building. They played that game in Oxford and escaped Arkansas. We walked in there just dominated. It was so bad they fired the coach. That's how bad it was. Many people look at the A&M game. They even look at this Boston College game and say, oh, well, they ain't really there. I think ultimately what it was is there was a look ahead. I think there ultimately was a look ahead. And if all of us who watched Notre Dame, we're disappointed in their performance on Saturday. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think Denbrock, and it has a lot to do with that, because ultimately we're trying so hard to get Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price Heisman cred. I think ultimately we're taken away from what is really the strength of this team in a lot of ways. And that's CJ Carr. CJ Carr has done a phenomenal job of doing something that we have not had at Notre Dame over the last, I would say, 15 to 20 years, and that's taking the top off of defenses. I won't say 20, I say 15, because when we had Golden Tate and Michael Floyd, we literally have some guys that can go up. Look, Will Pauling is a stud. Malachi Fields, a stud. And we've had studs in Notre Dame uniforms at the wide receiver position, but we have not utilized them because we have not had the quarterback play. You could argue Deshaun Kaiser was that guy with Will Fuller. But when you get a quarterback that's like him, he's got that I'm going to throw it down the field mentality. We've been waiting for the longest time to have that kind of quarterback. So to say you're realistic, I hope that doesn't mean you don't think that Notre Dame doesn't belong in the college football playoff, because I can tell you right now, the top 5 teams, not afraid of them, not even Ohio State. People are going to look me in the comments and say, you're crazy. No. What has Ohio State shown that Notre Dame can't stop and can't run or throw against? Nothing. Just ask Texas.
Awesome victory.
MSMS had a couple of comments on here. Every school can be independent. Okay. I don't know what the contents of that context of that question, that comment can be. I don't know if you mean any school can be independent or whether or not they have the option to. You're right. Every school has the option to be that, but is it financially feasible for them? You can't go ask Alabama to have its own network. Nobody's going to put Alabama on its own network. The Texas Longhorns tried that. I don't know if it's still, on the air, but many of you know Texas was looking like Texas was going to break away as a whole from the Big 12 at one point, and that the conference was going to go basically belly up without them. But then they joined the SEC a couple of years later. But I can tell you right now, Texas's brand was hurt by Mack Brown when he did that horrible. When you saw Johnny Manziel and Robert Griffin III ended up going at Texas A&M and Baylor respectively because he wanted them to play wide receiver. But every school cannot successfully navigate the waters of independence, because the reality of it is, it goes back to what the comment that was said earlier about us being able to draw tickets for just about anybody. We can do that. And I said it on the show. Georgia's number one ticket was us. It was us. And I'm going to be honest with you, there was a lot. I've had family in South Bend. They sold their tickets to Georgia fans that went up there. Irish fans were like, man, if they going to pay $1,200, $1,300 for this ticket, why not give it to them? Why not? Why not? So Notre Dame travels. There is not a team on the planet that travels like them. I will put Georgia in a class almost with that. I don't think Georgia would sell nearly as well overseas as Notre Dame does. I'm almost willing to bet they don't. So with that being said, not every team can be independent. And I know what y'all are saying. Who is the mystery commenter that all this is almost inspired? Well, we're getting there. Drizzle said, independence is capitalistic and inherently American. Joining a conference is for socialists who redistribute money. Notre Dame doesn't want to have to answer to a bunch of other schools and a conference commandant. Amen to that. I totally agree with you, Drizzle. It'd be like having a business and having a bunch of underclass bosses or COOs, CEOs, and you're the one doing all the work. Why would you want to spread the wealth to somebody that's not bringing anything to the party? Just take it all for yourself. Or you're a person that's making millions of dollars for a certain entity, and you're doing all the legwork and the footwork, and all you really have to do is figure out a way to get that per se product and go and get it on your own. It's the beauty of entrepreneurialism. Then we had 2 replies to that comment. Daniel said, bam, great comment. And then Renee said, amen, brother. And here's the truth about all of this. I hope all of you guys are subbed, because my subs have been going through the roof. And like I said, I appreciate all of you. Not all of you have shown up on my notifications that you are subbed. So please, I want to keep getting your feedback. So please stay subbed and hit that bell notification while you're here so that you guys can keep getting my content. And like I said, I don't speak like a lot of your announcers and the people out of South Bend. So if you guys want clear cut, and I'm deep in the heart of SEC country, myself and my entire family, we are gold and blue through and through. We can't stand the SEC because of the very comment that you're going to hear from that individual, and let me just go on. Sean said, only a real one can be independent and prosper as much as the Irish do. Capital letters, stop the hate. Cause ND gonna keep winning. We are ND. Amen to that too, Sean. Thank you for the comment. Brian said, I love this show, new sub. I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you so much for the sub, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Keep coming. And listen, don't be afraid to comment on something that I say, because ultimately it's about the comment. As long as we keep it respectable, I will read your comment on the air and I will respond. So MSM once again says everyone is jealous of Notre Dame. I don't disagree, because ultimately it is the most difficult thing to go out there and charter those waters of college football and be able to navigate those waters and absolutely be able to bring a product to the party that everybody's going to want to be excited about. Listen, I haven't been this excited in a long time to watch Notre Dame football. I have just absolutely. And one of the reasons I started this show was because I was watching a guy do his own podcast, and what really aggravated me was his analysis of the games. It would be if the quarterback wasn't throwing the ball well, it was the receiver's fault. And I'm seeing them right now. They're saying Notre Dame hasn't had the receivers. Look, I may say something that's unpopular. As much as Riley Leonard was a blessing, he was a curse. And the reason why he was a curse was because the coaches had such a low level of, I guess the word is confidence in his throwing ability. And many of you can see why that interception he threw in the Natty proved it all. But then he came back and he threw absolutely two beautiful throws to Jaden Greathouse. And all we heard is Jaden Greathouse and so many of the other receivers we had last year. Jordan Faison had his moments. And the transfer from Clemson, I forget who that was. Sorry, no disrespect. But he was a good wide receiver. Regardless of what anybody wants to say, his name will come to me later on. I feel so... But when you look at these guys are talented wide receivers. They didn't just come to Notre Dame and just stink up the place. You have to... Look, your receivers are only as good as your quarterback play. Now, if somebody wants to disagree with me, have at it. But I'm being straight up honest. You cannot have a good receiving corps unless you have a quarterback that is willing to get him the football. We can see that with Casey Concepcion. The Texas A&M wide receiver that came out of NC State. He's straight balling. And what did he do to us? He lit us up. And now I heard a lot of Notre Dame podcasters say, why didn't we get this guy in the portal? What for? I mean, we haven't shown ourselves to be a passing football team, but yet we keep going out recruiting 4- and 5-star guys and high 3-star guys that are potentially be 4 stars. We don't have the quarterback to go with it. Enter CJ Carr. And I could argue that maybe the competition between he and Kenny Minchey was close, and I think ultimately it boils down to what we've seen early, that CJ Carr probably struggles with putting the ball in harm's way down the field. And to me, CJ Carr looks like he struggles more with short throws than he does the deep ones. I mean, the intermediate and deep throws, he's got those nailed, even though he does at times get rid of it late. And that's got to be something that he's going to fix, because needless to say, when you get these guys breaking open like that, just get it down the field. KK Smith's going to outrun everybody. That was a ball he got rid of late. So, ultimately, that's one of my takes that I really am passionate about. You have to have a quarterback in order to make your receivers look good. And ultimately, you can look at Pitt, and that's how they are. They've got a quarterback that's making those guys look really good. MSMS again came out and said Indy doesn't want to share its revenue with other schools. Totally agree. We've heard that comment already. Why would you want to share if you're doing majority of the work? And then here's Chris with this. I think this was the comment that was absolutely descriptive of what this show embodied. Who the hell wants to be just like everyone else? If you can be independent, unique, special, then grab it. You want to date a 5, a 6, or a 7? Hell no, go for the 10. Can't disagree. You want a Porsche or a Yugo? Please, all you haters, if you could be one of a kind, you choose it too. And it's good business to not have to share revenue. Why join a conference for less money? And for that matter, it kicks ass playing different teams from all over the U.S. It certainly hasn't hurt recruiting. Keep your identity. Be Notre Dame. Woo! Winner! Well said, Chris. Well freaking said. I mean, see, I'm going to go ahead and expose Tianzi. This right here embodies what we're talking about. See, most schools can't do that. See, and I'm going to pose the question. You can comment down below. Would you date a 5 or a 6 or a 7, or would you date a 10? Better yet, you said a Porsche or a Yugo. That's your choice. How about, would you take a Porsche or Aston Martin? Exactly. Exactly. And the reality of it is, Notre Dame is killing it playing all over the U.S. And he's absolutely right. Thank you, Chris. You said exactly what I've been trying to say. Now, as far as the money in conferences, I'm not sure about that. I think the other schools are generating a little bit more money. When you think about the shared revenues in conference, given that the SEC deal, and I think the Big Ten deal is way more than what Notre Dame's getting from NBC. But however, when you look at what the guidelines are and what the restrictions are that the SEC and the Big Ten put on these schools, it, like, for instance, they're discussing right now a 24 to 16 team playoff. Right now, the SEC is getting in the way. And I can tell you exactly why that is. Because we look at where things are now. Look, the AP polls inflates the SEC. Like Missouri. Who the heck has Missouri beaten? Why are they even relevant here? Vanderbilt only fell a handful of spots, and they got crushed. I don't care what the final score was. You could see there was some form of manipulation in that game because Texas dominated that game. 21 in the fourth quarter, and you didn't score but 10 all game? Come on, man. Stop it. Excellent comment there, Chris. All of them are great comments, but that was excellent. Patrick said Notre Dame scheduled 10 Power 4 teams, one team from Group of 5 that made the playoffs last year. Navy, a traditional rival who no program wants to play. I basically said that, Patrick. Thank you for restating that. Wants to play because they don't quit. No one talks about the fact 10 Power Conference games. It's hard to win all 12 games regardless of who's on your schedule. Boston College proved that point vividly. Thank you once again, Patrick. SEC teams play 8 conference games, and most of them play 4 cupcakes. Absolutely, Missouri's a perfect example. Thank you. A few schedule a power game, but rarely leave the South when they do so. Wow. Alabama would be an exception. Actually, Alabama just started doing that. And I'll elaborate on that point just secondly, but this has been a great point right here. That will be changing, and I'll bet the Irish will have an opportunity to play a beefier schedule as a result. They concede not being in this conference is a disadvantage for them since they lack access to a conference championship game, but they accept it. So why does anyone else care? Conference championship game losers tend to get in the playoffs anyway.
You don't have to answer that question.
You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Yeah. What he said. Because ultimately, when we look at what this playoff really does, is it really does make them win it on the field. And to this point, I will say now, and Patrick, the only issue I had with your comment, you said in parentheses, Alabama would be an exception. Alabama ain't left its building when they play somebody. I will give Georgia some props because I guess I'm misunderstanding your question. Maybe you're saying Alabama's the exception of leaving the South, because I haven't seen Alabama leave the South since 2017 when they played a Penn State team that wasn't hitting on, or was that 15? It was either 17 or 15 they played them, and they weren't hitting on Tutti Frutti. Alabama during the Saban era is, chickened out playing a power in their building. It's always neutral site. So, Tianzi, when you talk about going and doing what we do, Alabama wouldn't even do it, and they played lesser opponents. They always, to Patrick's point, played lesser competition either in neutral sites or in Tuscaloosa. Hell, they had an opportunity after Michigan State made the college football 14 playoff to doing a home-and-a-home series. Saban backed out of that and took USC.
Stop the cap.
Sounds to me like SEC was just trying to basically get that little nudge, like they still doing today. Overinflated teams, Florida being ranked, South Carolina being ranked. They both terrible. And you got teams like Vanderbilt that's getting pushed over the top because of the victories over that. Saying, they got teams over top 25, so let's put them in. You can't count that, as bad as those teams are. Now, I will give Florida a pass because, needless to say, they did beat Texas in Gainesville. Not like they went to Austin and did it. But ultimately, the losers of the championship games get in. So to Tianzi, your point that you're going to make later on is that, you need to be playing a conference. What relevance does that have when you're talking about, 3 teams that don't even play in that championship Saturday? They going. They in the conference. I could see if you were basically saying 2 SEC, 2 Big Tens, 2 ACCs, 2 Big 12s, and then 2 Power 6s, non-Power 5s, excuse me. So, what are you talking about? Your point makes no sense. And this is the reason why the SEC won't expand it to 24. I don't have a problem with 24. People who are friends of the show say that's too much football. Maybe. But when you start looking at I get it. People are going to say Georgia Tech ain't hitting on nothing because they got beat by North Carolina State the way they look. We knew what North Carolina State was. We played NC State. I knew Tech had an issue. And that's just like Navy getting beat by Marshall. I did not know Marshall had such a powerful running back. This kid will hit you and keep going. Now, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but Tianzi, you have to be open to the possibilities, not just a dogmatic point of view. Oh, the SEC, the only conference to play football. Looks to me like the SEC's got the worst officiating on the planet. So we don't know what kind of teams y'all got. Hell, I even questioned the officiating in the Texas A&M game. It was horrible in that game. Y'all pay the most. Maybe it's because, I ain't going to say that. I'm not going to say that. Maybe one of y'all in the comments will say that. But y'all's officiating sucks. I usually don't say that kind of stuff on the show, but it is. It is. Brad's saying he's eating popcorn watching the show. Like I said, Chris, we didn't have the grades to get into ND. Nah, we don't want to do that, buddy. We don't want to do that. Nah, that's a no there. We don't want to do that. So respectfully, I'm going to, remove that, hide that comment. We don't want that kind of stuff here. We want to talk. If you get the way you're friends with Brad, that'd be cool. I don't want that. We don't want to do that. So please don't put that in the comments, but great comment nonetheless, Chris. I'm not, because I didn't get the grades to go into, Notre Dame. So
What a dumbass! Dumb shit!
Disciple. Like I said, go back and look at the Arkansas schedule. Arkansas lost to Ole Miss by 6. Arkansas, Memphis 1 point. ND, Arkansas 56. Notre Dame 56. Arkansas 13. Arkansas, Tennessee 3 points. Texas A&M, Arkansas 3 points. Auburn, Arkansas 9 points. There's only one blowout on their schedule. ND can play with any of the ranked teams in the playoff. Pate has Alabama playing in the second round of the playoff. Alabama winning. Yeah, I have a problem with that too. I beg to differ on that game. Irish can play with Bama. Simpson isn't all that. Seifel. We can beat Bama. I mean, everybody's talking about the Florida State as an anomaly. I've seen way too many weaknesses. And you know what the biggest weakness Alabama has? They can't stop the run. Did you guys watch the Georgia game?
Run.
As I told you guys, I eat and breathe college football. I like eat and breathe football in period. Whether it's high school, college, or pros. I've got a college show and I've got an NFL show, which I haven't been able to keep up with because the college football season has just been so insane. It's been crazy this year. And the reality of it is, and somebody's going to allude to this point later on about the NIL. This point right here, I was just bringing up to a friend of the show today about the Arkansas bid. You talk so much about how, Tianzi, and I'm talking to you. You talk so much about how the SEC has parity, but yet one of your teams, yeah, granted they got losses, but look at how close they played arguably the number one team in your conference, and then you look at how they played arguably the fourth best team in your conference, and then you arguably look at one of the Power 4 team, one of the non-Power 5 conferences. They lost to them by a point, and then Tennessee by 3. This is what you got to offer? And we blew them out in their building. They didn't come to South Bend and we destroyed them. We destroyed them when this crowd was going nuts. We shut that down. We closed the door on Arkansas and left no doubt who the man was. Explain that to me. Because Disciple presents a beautiful argument. And just like all of these arguments that have come in, you got a lot to answer for. And I want you to be able to openly answer. Tianzi says, I'm going to say it like this, player, paraphrasing Biggie. You want to come across hardcore wearing the cap flip to the back and whatnot, but the schedule you be touting can't even scare poop. I guess you're saying pop-up Warner team or my sister's homecoming powder puff competitions. Don't hate the messenger, but if you must, hate your soft twinkly feelings, twinkie feelings schedule for real. Tianzi, what's soft about this schedule? I mean, you keep going through saying it's soft and this, that, and the other. And somebody else is going to bring this up later on in the show. We knocked out your champ last year and left no doubt. Beat the brakes off of Georgia. And it would have been worse. Would have been way worse if our offensive line was healthy. And we had Benjamin Morrison. See, you so quick to forget levels of schedule. Because if our schedule was so weak, why would guys be getting hurt? Y'all make it sound like the only good football is played in the Southeastern Conference. I hate to break this to you. Since the NIL and y'all can't pay players under the table? See, now the playing field's been leveled. See, because you can't explain to me how the SEC was able, its dominant teams were able to keep that depth. See, the thing is, you don't say it out loud because now you realize that everybody's done got the ability to do what you've been doing for years. Don't nobody go to these rinky-dink southern schools just because y'all are this and y'all are that. No. Just saying. It may be cold up there, but I'm going to tell you, it's too daggum hot down here in the summertime. August and September, it's hot. It's hot. Just saying, you can be mad. Like you said, don't kill the messenger. Hey, don't kill this messenger. All right, y'all give me a second while my system is reloading. There was a lot of comments, you guys. I am so grateful for all the comments, you guys, because needless to say, when I saw this, I was just absolutely floored at how, you guys came and really wanted to put your 2 cents into this. And that's what this show is about. It's about having clarity and having individuals, who want to feel passionate about Notre Dame. And ultimately, when the platform shows I want to travel and show Tianzi that not only does Notre Dame's football team travel, but it's podcasters, it's YouTubers, as well as social influencers. They travel as well. And I want to put people like y'all on the show and give your comments, and have some people who want to chime in on conversations like this who may not be Notre Dame fans. That's ultimately what you want to be able to do. So I love hearing individuals. Yeah, all of those numbers that you put out there. While you talk about the 2.2 million views, let's do something realistic. You said 14.3 when Notre Dame played Ohio State. You think anybody else in the Big Ten is going to draw 14 million viewers? Just me. See, you're missing the point. This right here is what draws those viewers. Anybody you put on the other side of Notre Dame that's a powerhouse is going to draw it. You ain't going to get... Did you get that kind of viewership with Penn State last week? How about when you did the whiteout? I didn't watch that. I sure didn't. Oh, I take that back. I watched the first quarter. Because I already knew what was going to happen. Now, I will say this. It's not about being scared, pimping. It's not about being scared. And see, people like you who smell them dollar signs just like other networks do. And for the record, they weren't begging. That's a crock. They weren't begging. Now, will I say Notre Dame was in fear that they could possibly lose the NBC contract? But does that necessarily mean nobody else would snatch it up? Oh. So what you're talking about is totally irrelevant in this. Now, I'm not saying it's not the all be all, the end all be all of the situation. You bring up some very good points. You say it's time. No, it's not time. Because here's the thing. It's not our fault that whoever you supporting does not have the rich history of being independent. You see, go back and do the history of why Notre Dame was not integrated with another conference. Oh, it's a deep history. It rolls back to prejudices. And the reality of it is, instead of sitting here making it sound like that Notre Dame is in trouble, how about you embrace the fact that maybe other schools should do it as well? You bring up some very good points, and I'm not going to disagree with you financially. But to sit there and say it's time, we just got another deal, player. Under Armour just signed us to another big deal. Not to mention, when Marcus Freeman decides to open the Shamrock Series back up, we get our own merchandise. Name another program that has those rights. Y'all have to share everything. So when you talk about Rutgers, who the heck is buying Rutgers stuff? I mean, if you was an Ohio State, wouldn't that piss you off that you got to share your money with with Rutgers? I would be mad as I don't know what. I got to share revenue with Rutgers. See, you ain't even getting the concept of this. Yes, it could be hundreds of millions of dollars, but here's the reality. Look at Ohio State, for instance. Again, Rutgers wasn't even going to sniff the college football playoff. But look at the monies that they generated. This is what you got to do. You got to go to big old daddy Big Ten pimp. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you got to do this. You basically being pimped out. I was trying to use a respectful word, but you basically being pimped out when you're in a conference. And here's the thing. When Notre Dame goes to the national championship, we don't have to answer to nobody. That is why y'all hate it so bad, because here's the reality. We still control our own destiny. And quite possibly, and this is why y'all want us not being in the playoff, because it makes no sense for anybody to sit there and say, join a conference, join a conference, join a conference. We're surviving without it. We're surviving just fine. But then to sit here and say, scary coming off a national championship in the 90s, Nebraska won 3 national championships before they joined the Big Ten. Well, the reality of it is, what was Nebraska before they won a national championship? And see, the monies that were in college football don't nearly stack up to what it is today. See, I bet you're one of those people that said, oh, don't expand the college football playoff. There ain't going to be no money in it. The money this and the money that. This has blown up college football. There ain't no way in the world. You talking about those numbers and those ratings that are being made? That's because of the college football playoff. That's what it is. You want to talk about the insignificant bowls. Ain't nobody watching that with the college football playoff going on. They might as well just set all them games aside, play them, and just... And then there's no disrespect to the other teams. I get it. These kids want that experience. It's great for them. But at the end of the day, ain't nobody watching it. Because there's nothing to play for. And half of those kids that are playing are going to come back next season. Any star players that are playing in these games, they're coming back next year. They're not going to the NFL. But I like the comment. But as far as us being scared, no. We just have more pride. We have more, as a lot of y'all in the SEC and Big Ten like to say, tradition. It's about tradition. Not about what you don't like. Not about what you want to come in here and say is this and that. Yeah, you got some facts in there. I'll have to go back and verify them. But the Big Ten didn't want us before. We don't want you and we don't need you. Lord knows don't let us win a national championship. We ain't Nebraska. Tommy Frazier and Lawrence Phillips graduated. Will J. Who did Nebraska have come behind them? Because the dang show wasn't Tommy Frazier, and that dang show wasn't Lawrence Phillips, God bless his soul. Great comment, though. Keep watching. Disciple replied, like I said, go back and look at the Arkansas schedule. Arkansas lost to Ole Miss by 6. All right, let's get to Tianze, whose comment was a couple of days ago, and he says, haha, let me put you on game real quick, Slick. Who did Indy play that was ranked higher than them when they played and won? Meaning you did not beat Miami or A&M. You will no doubt coast to 10-2 and then say we are a playoff team and will be well rested before the grueling playoffs to boot. Let's look at last year's schedule for Indy. Y'all played unranked A&M, NIU, Purdue, Louisville, Stanford, Navy, Army, FSU, Virginia, and USC. Meaning only top 20 team y'all played was Louisville. You pick any second-tier team like South Carolina, Tennessee, A&M, or Illinois, I will bet they will go 10-2 or better every year with that Indy's weak-ass baby. With that Indy's weak-as baby tinkle schedule and be well-rested for the playoffs as well. Like I said, join a competitive conference. You said some of these SEC and Big Ten teams play no names, but that is maybe 2 or 3 teams at the most. So then how many weak teams do you play? Answer, 10 rinky-dink teams every year is the size of it. By the way, your B-ball plays in the ACC. Maybe you should join that second-tier conference as a starter. Just join a real conference with the championship so you have to play 13 games like everyone else. ND will never join a conference and will become another Nebraska, Colorado. You ain't slick, Pilgrim, because we already peeped your whole week arse get down and still be thinking to catch us slipping. I'm going to let y'all handle him because this is funny. Sean says, what a typical SEC chump. Now, ND can pay players. Let's check under Freeman. Oh, what's that? It's not mid-90s and early 2000s. Indy has SEC talent and one of the best QB1s. Thank you, Sean. You just got your head chopped off right there, Tianzi. The English is horrible. Haha, you are playing BC, who is a 1-7 chump team and not a signature win you're looking for. Since you squandered that opportunity when you, as the 6th-ranked team, played and lost against the then 10th-ranked Miami and followed that up with a loss at the crib against the then 16th-ranked A&M. So where is your signature win once more again? Looking quite the chump for loading the schedule with nobodies. Haha. Truth do hurt, don't it, Pilgrim? By the way, you be playing Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford for the remainder. What an impressive list for huffing and puffing blowhard. A lot of hot air I'm hearing. Because needless to say, I can go down a list of FCS schools that the SEC plays. I mean, we could sit here and we could go down the list. I mean, outside of who A&M has beaten besides us, they've struggled with a lot of good teams. Now, they did show their A game against LSU. But you don't have a shell to hang on. You just sat there and said, what about Arkansas? Y'all had them boosted up in the top 25. What did we do? We destroyed them. Destroyed them. And I'm going to go back to that because you keep talking about the SEC. I saw Ole Miss struggle in their crib. I've seen A&M struggle at Arkansas. So your point is invalid because I'm going to be honest with you. The SEC don't want to come to South Bend. I tell you that right now. Y'all don't want to come up to South Bend. And I'll tell you another thing. The reality of it is we walked into Arkansas and y'all didn't scare us. You forget we've beaten Tennessee in their building. Go ahead, look it up. We came to Athens, and if they hadn't had a lot of help, sorry, Brad. Yeah. Yeah. We know your officiating is terrible. And I get it. The ACC officials called that game, but ACC scale, we've seen the ACC have some skeptical calls. Just saying. Just saying. And that beatdown we put on Georgia last year, I think you better rethink that statement. Because I can be honest with you, y'all got maybe 2 or 3 teams that would even come close, and they ain't original SEC teams. And I'm referring to Texas A&M. Y'all said the same thing when A&M and Texas joined. Same thing with Oklahoma. Why are they being competitive right now? Missouri, why are they being competitive? When they joined the SEC, yeah, this is where the big boys play. All 4 of them are ranked. What you got to say now?
Bruh.
They're not homegrown SEC schools, but you claiming them. Y'all said when they came over here, yeah, y'all joined the Big 12 had to play in the SEC, they wouldn't be scoring all them points. Y'all don't even play defense. You got 3 or 4 teams that might play a little bit of defense, but I call you can't play no offense. You talking about Miami. Who in the SEC beat Miami? You talking about A&M. Who in the SEC is beating A&M? You got a one team that actually gave A&M a challenge, and we mopped the floor with them in they building. Ain't nobody scared of the wannabe boogeyman you call the SEC, Tianzi. You keep throwing out points that don't prove your point. We would go in the SEC and dominate it. Yes, you heard me say it. And it goes back to what was just said. We got SEC talent now. I don't even like to say SEC talent because a lot of that talent from all over the country. We just got it on one team now. How is the SEC supposed to win when they can't pay their players more than anyone else? NIL basically ended Saban's career because other schools couldn't match Bama's price. See, Drizzle, that's exactly right. Because now the playing field's been leveled. The SEC's been exposed. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly what it is, but it's just mighty funny that the depths of a lot of these teams like Georgia, Alabama, and Texas kind of got cut in half once the NIL came about. See, the SEC was always talking about this is where the best coaches are. It's mighty funny. Notre Dame has a better depth chart than a lot of the SEC, and I would argue that all of the SEC teams. Because here's the reality. Notre Dame has always been O-line U and tight end U, and now it's starting to become RB University. Sorry, Brad, y'all ain't had a running back in years at Georgia. But now it's starting to be DB University. Now, see, here's the thing. All of this whining that we hear from the SEC, joining this and doing that. See, the reality of it is they want a cut of what we got. Folks like Tianzi want us to not have that ability to get back in because they understand they're scared of us. You got a lot of schools around here and a lot of parishioners and a lot of fans that like Notre Dame. They're just not fans. They like us and respect us. And here's the thing, Tianzi. Stop being a hater and stop wanting us to be a part of the dogmatic point of view that we don't share. A lot of what gives Notre Dame its prestige is because we're independent. We don't want to be like you, shackled by our conference. Doesn't it suck to be a prisoner of the conference? Maybe you'll get it one day. Then Tianzi's response to Drizzle was, that is what I said before the greater parity. Kids want the bag, playing not for what they're skipping. You saying Texas A&M, LSU, Florida, UGA, and OU or Tennessee have no money? Haha, please sat that pipe down. Even the Catholics support ND with Sunday collections. No? Well, here's the thing. Don't hate how we did it. The problem is the SEC's been doing it for years. Under the table. You can call it what you want. You don't stack that many good players because of a tradition. SEC teams ain't got no tradition. They had the bag and they were paying under the table. Why do you not think it's obvious when you sit there and you hear Greg Sankey upset about expanding to 24? Why would you want to expand it to 24? Now, I know a lot of y'all are going to get in there and say, I don't want 24. That's a lot of football. But hey, they said the same thing when they kept expanding the college basketball bracket. It's the highest making money making, dang near the highest making money, sports making entity in the entire world. Next to what is it, World Cup? It makes a ton of money. And they kept saying expanding it wouldn't work. And they probably gonna look to expand it some more. I love March Madness, and I'm loving this bracket. But once again, Tianzi, you're speaking to the fact that the kids are going for the bag. You just answered your own question. That never changed. That's what the SEC was doing for the longest time. And it's showing. Thank you, Tianzi. That's why you want us in your conference. Tianzi said, jealous because ND ain't going to the playoffs. Not after losing to Miami and Texas A&M, which were victories ND needed for the playoff. Not hardly. The Buckeyes will win the Natty again. First of all, no, the Buckeyes not going to win the Natty, and no, we're not going to miss out on the playoffs. And then you say not after losing to A&M and Miami. Name me a team with better losses. See, you think it's easy to win 10 in a row. Find me a team in the country that's got 10 wins, let alone 10 in a row. You make it sound like it's just the easiest thing in the world to win 10 in a row. Miami couldn't finish their schedule. They couldn't even win 10 in a row after they beat us. So here's the thing, Tianzi. If you know anything about the game, the more film a team gets on you, the more they figure you out.
Damn, I'm good.
We saw what Boston College did last week. And the reality of it is, if you knew anything about the game, it's not always about what players you have. It's about how a coach coaches against you and strategizes. See, I could go ahead and point X's and O's out to you all day long. I'm not making excuses for how we played, but Callahan had a great plan. But we still ended up winning by double digits. Can't say that about Georgia and Florida. Sorry, Brad. Just saying. You can't. And MSM replied, stupid dude. ND is a real school, not a football farm. Then Cal 2224 said, how about Georgia and PSU? See, you still ain't answered that question. You talking about what we did. Well, here's the thing, Tianzi. We did the same thing last year and had a bad loss against NIU. But then we go in and we run the table. With 2 offensive linemen injured, with our best defensive tackle on injured reserve, with arguably the best cornerback in the nation, arguably, out for majority of the season. I could go on. I mean, we had so many players that were hurt, but you sit here and say we well rested. Not to mention, arguably the best, one of the best running backs in the country was banged up when we went into the playoff. But he ended up taking a 94-yarder to the house and then had one of the most memorable runs in the Penn State game. But we knocked out Indiana, Georgia, Penn State, and scared the heck out of Ohio State. But you still want to ride this train.
What? What the?
I admit, I admire your persistence. James says, blah, 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 blah. Go Irish. I almost feel the same thing, but at the end of the day, you got people out here like Tianzi. They hate on us because they can't be us. And the reality of it is you can't debunk why Notre Dame should stay independent. All you know is that you want to make this claim that Notre Dame should join a conference, when the reality of it is it doesn't benefit us like that. And then on top of that, it should be a situation where you say, I admire that. And then the reality of it is schools aren't going to shy away from playing us just because they want to play in a national championship. Because here's the truth. Here's the truth. You can see the bias in the AP polls. If I say nothing else tonight, look at how the AP polls dropped USC below Michigan. Now, they got it right this week. They finally put USC back over Michigan. Explain that to me, Tianzi. See, you can call it how you want, but you can't escape the fact that the AP polls and the College Football Playoff Committee is still human. And they make horrible boo-boos. And a lot of them are like you. You don't watch college football like I do. You don't. Because if you did, you would understand the fact that it's flawed. Horribly flawed. There are certain people who don't need to be making these votes, casting these votes. Individuals that watch the games understand what they're watching and not voting with their feelings. Then I get Nita Beta. I hope I said that right, sweetie. Nita Beta says, y'all complain about ND playing bad games, but never consider they create their schedules years in advance. Absolutely. They can't help that some of the teams are terrible one year. ND beat UGA, Penn State, and IU in a row and was the only team that didn't get clobbered by Ohio State in the playoffs. Well, Texas hung in there. They, even though they opened up on them later, it was a 2-score win, but yeah, technically you're right. Y'all just repeat from the echo chamber, but if I believe Alabama played Grambling State this year. Grambling? Talking about a cupcake schedule. LOL. Y'all stay losing to Georgia Tech and we dog walk them. So eat crow. But Tianzi, of course, had a retort. Boo, ND was well rested last year before the grill. I have already debunked this, so another lie. Look, Tianzi, don't lie. We were not well rested. I don't know how many. Look, watch the show first. I'm sitting here giving you facts. You apparently did not watch Notre Dame. I want you to comment on the show and say whatever. But here's the thing. Bring facts and statistics with us. Don't sit here and say that we were well rested, because we were not. We had backups in 3 major positions on our O-line. We had an injured tight end, cornerback, and our best player in the backfield arguably was banged up in the playoffs. We even had 2 linebackers, edge rushers that were injured. Best defensive tackle on our team was hurt. So where do you get we were well rested? Please enlighten me. What, we didn't play a championship week? Yeah, guess what? There were almost 8 other teams that didn't play either. May have been 9. So what is your point? You make no sense, bro. I mean, you keep spitting the same thing. Who did ND play on their way to the playoffs last year? Bro, I don't have to explain it any more than when we got in the playoff. Look who we beat. So why do you keep bringing up who we beat? Because, like she said, Alabama played Grambling. Exactly. Let's put it like this. The only team of any substance they played was Louisville. Oh, my goodness. Navy was undefeated. But you keep talking about Navy ain't nobody, but y'all put cupcakes like Grambling on it. Why don't Alabama or any of y'all in the SEC schedule Navy? So please stop disrespecting Navy until one of y'all beats them. Because you haven't. And then you talk about A&M, who happens to be the number 1 seed this year. Who you think made that happen? Wasn't y'all? Who they played the previous year? You looking at them. You can hate all you want. We make teams better. Louisville knocked us off one year. We are the reason Louisville's where they are. They play up to their level of competition. We make teams better. You don't have to like it. Nita Beta said the exact same thing that I've been saying. Y'all just repeat from the same echo chamber. Y'all have always basically said that this whole SEC thing is, the reality of it is, why was South Carolina ranked? Put that down in the comments. Why was Florida ranked? Everybody knew that schedule that they had. The problem is the AP polls rank based on name and conference. Soon as Georgia Tech lost this week, what was y'all ready to do? Soon as Texas beat Vanderbilt, In their building, I might add, y'all are so ready. The AP polls are so ready to anoint the SEC having the most teams. Look, there were many times when I was growing up that the Big Ten, Pac-12, and the Big 12 had the deepest team. I remember there was one year when you had Texas Tech, and Oklahoma vying for that one daggum spot in the Big 12 title game. Do many of y'all remember that? They had to duke it out. But it was always the SEC. Big 12 was arguably the best, deepest conference that year. The SEC has always had the notion of only having one, maybe two good teams. That year they had three. But only one could get that daggum berth into the the BCS, I think it was at the time. So your arguments keep coming up short. And he said, let any second-tier team in the SEC and the Big Ten have the schedule so we can go 11-1 every year and be well rested. By the way, did you say Indy had nothing to do with the schedule? Then why not join the big SEC or the Big Ten? But Indy will never do that. Besides, you have to win 13 games to win a conference because of the championship game. Sobering. Okay. No, you don't have to win 13 games. The way things are looking, Georgia ain't gonna have to win a 13th game. The way things are looking, Vanderbilt ain't gonna have to win 13. Texas ain't. So you just proved another point that made no sense.
Stupid.
No, you don't have to win a 13th game.
Dumb shit!
You don't. Not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you don't. And see, you talking about a second-tier team, and I'm going to go back to my point, and I've beaten this point to death, and I'm sorry the show's going a little long, but I love doing these type of shows because guys like you, Tianzi, you don't understand the game. You just have an issue with somebody that's doing something different. And the reality of it is, don't hate somebody because you put restraints on yourself. Now, as far as the scheduling goes, look, you can call it what you want. Notre Dame can have a cupcake schedule and go 12-0 and make the playoff. They could. But see, unlike the SEC, you cry you got a tough schedule because you've only got a handful of your teams that have played. You've had Florida's got a brutal schedule. Oklahoma's got a brutal schedule. And you could argue that Vanderbilt has a subpar tough schedule. Arkansas had a tough one, and look where they at. None of your teams that had a tough schedule are going to get in. And now you got it saying, well, if Texas beats Georgia and Texas A&M, they need to get in. That ain't going to happen. And then I heard somebody say, well, if they lose to Georgia and beat A&M, they should get in. Hell no.
Bruh.
Hell no. Sorry. You lose to Georgia and lose to A&M? I mean, lose to Georgia and then beat A&M? No. No. Not gonna happen. Because I can tell you right now, I smell a stinky conspiracy here. Because I can tell you right now, if A&M drops that game to Texas, oh yeah, I smell a Greg Sankey phone call. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But, and then he says school's open. What school are you teaching? The SEC school of parroting? Because all you're doing is regurgitating statements that SEC sellouts like Joey Galloway spit. I mean, all of them sat there and said it was going to be a Georgia-Alabama championship game. Or Ohio. I mean, Ohio State was a foregone conclusion in a lot of their minds. Talking about Alabama, Georgia, and Alabama didn't even make the college football playoff. I mean, they sitting there throwing SEC, and I mean, there was some that was saying Texas and Georgia. I saw a lot of brackets that had Texas and Georgia. I mean, it just really gets frustrating when you sit here and you try to talk to people that don't want to see. You don't want to see what's blatantly obvious. We don't have to do that. And that's the thing y'all don't understand. But it's okay. I'm here for you. This is what you losers say every year. For one, OSU is pretty damn lucky they spent all that $4 million on high-profile players. Can't win without all that money, and SEC play wimpier teams than any of ND teams they play. And they had the hardest schedule by far in the playoffs last year. WTF are you on about? IU, Georgia, Penn State? I suppose they aren't, though. You keep disrespecting them like you're on someone else's team. You think because you bandwagon anyone who's winning that year that you're some sort of smart? Keep your 4 NCAA Division II AA teams like Mercer and Akron you put. You obviously just hate ND and don't know crap about college ball. Rod, I get it. You're passionate, but do me a favor, just keep the profanities down because I want to be able to read them on my show. Every now and again I'll spout one and I'll bleep it out. It makes for humor. But no, Roger, you're absolutely right. And see, Tianzi, I can tell you're not reading the whole comment and comprehending. You're reading to respond. And that is so important that you need to learn. And see, this is what my platform is for. Reading to understand, listening to comprehend, not trying to respond. That is why we have issues in our country and from the get-go. And the thing is, when you learn to listen to understand and not listen to respond, it becomes a much better conversation. Now, Rod said the same thing. OSU is pretty daggum lucky they spent $4 million. But hey, Rod, listen, we spent our share of dollars. We did. And they said they win with all that money. Hey, look, we spent our share of money. But the reality of it is money does not win you a championship. Penn State proved that this year. We have a blessing in Marcus Freeman. He understands talent, and we've got Mike Mickens, who's done a phenomenal job with our cornerbacks, and so many other guys from the offensive line to the running back recruiting. We can't say enough about our coaching staff. We've got one of the best, and Marcus Freeman has assembled arguably a dream team. We struggled a little bit with Chris Ash, but Chris Ash has finally got those guys playing the way he wants them to, and look where we are. Tianzi, I think you really need to understand that it's more than just what, national media presumes it to be. You're going to hear a whole bunch of people talking trash about Notre Dame joining a conference. And even from the comment that I had earlier about the numbers, which I'm grateful for all of these comments, but Tianzi, when you keep trying to slander a program that's been independent this whole time and attempted to join one, now that it's floating and being very successful and is like a rock and roll man on a football field, why would we stop as long as we get to travel nationwide and possibly taking this show on the road? Why would we stop? Why would we stop? Let's see. And that's really it for the response to Tianzi. Also, Roger responded to Sean's comment. Yeah, I said the same thing. Dude's an SEC fan, and it shows. And it does. You can be an SEC fan all you want. I don't have a problem with that. But to keep overinflating the value of your conference, not going to happen, because at the end of the day, yeah, A&M took us by 1 point. You say it like they dominated us. No, it was game number 2, and A&M had a week prior to play. Not an excuse, but the reality of it is, CJ Carr wasn't ready yet, and that's not an excuse. I have nothing but respect for what the A&M Aggies have there, but they're the only team that has knocked us down. It damn sure wasn't Georgia. Y'all got a no leg to stand on. And I'll tell you something else. It scares you to death that you might not get another team in the Final Four. Oh, I'm sorry. Texas got there. I keep forgetting Texas is SEC. Adopted. You had to have a team that you engrafted in to make the Final Four. Doesn't that suck?
You don't have to answer that question.
But guys, listen, it's got a little bit long. If I missed your comment, please let me know. I should have loved your comments based on my, using them. But I will say Will J's comment was one of those ones I did not read. I didn't realize it was this long, but he posted this about 3 hours ago. It's actually rather interesting. I love the demographics that you put out here, but some of this is obscured information that I will have to go behind and check. But unfortunately, the numbers, we know the conferences make good money and the teams make good money, but unfortunately, we don't need that. We make our own share. Just to remember that. Great information, Will J. Great comment, great show from all of you. I hope to be able to do this live one day because this was a really awesome show. I'm really blessed that you guys hit this, and I hope you guys keep checking out the show. If there's things that you want to see me do to make the show better, please make sure you comment. I want to be able to I just got another one in. YouTubing 6996, new subscriber. Here go Irish. We will never give up our independence. Haters always gonna hate us for that, and that's all right. Go Irish. Thank you, YouTubing, for the sub. As I said, I'm not going to go too hard on Tianze. I'm so grateful for all of you guys. And I'm grateful for Tianze for throwing that out there because here's the thing. You're not going to change everybody's opinion on this. There's a lot of people that don't like it and don't understand it. And I don't expect them to. Just continue to keep letting those views come in. Whether it's Notre Dame's football games, whether we travel, or whether it's my show or anybody else's platform that supports the Irish. So thankful for all of you guys. But remember, if when you come in here and watch the show, please put your name down in there so I can give you a Irish Nation shout out. And if you want to go over and check out my other stuff on Gridiron Gab Triple Option, that's my college show, you guys. I do a lot of takes on that, opinions over there, and my buddy Brad is also over there. So guys, if you want a lot of insight on college football, what my perspectives are on the polls, please go over there and check me out over there. But guys, it's been a pleasure. This is my first reaction, full-fledged show dedicated to only reactions. So, but I enjoyed it, even the ones that were presumably against what I believe in and what this show is about. I still enjoyed the dialogue. That's what we want. We don't have to agree, but you have to be open to understanding when you hear something, not just to respond. But guys, let me get up out of here. Make sure you go over to my Facebook page at Talk Like a Champion, as well as joining the group Talk Like a Champion. Make sure you want to keep up with me on Instagram at Mr. CeeLo so you can keep up with all the shenanigans that I will be caught up in and during the season, as well as my other shows that I'm involved in as well. But until we meet again, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun rise warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.